There are 4 things I would like to talk with you about tonight. The first is the framework and the policies in which we are hoping to use and integrate into our school. The second is the software that most of you coming from feeder schools now know all about. Google Apps for Education. You understand what the software does. It's something that's not new anymore. But I will highlight a few of the ways in which we're hoping to use that to evolve into this 21st century learning environment. I'm going to talk a little bit about hardware and how that all comes together through the coordination, which is probably one of the most important things if you ask me. So how are we going to bring it all together and make change? The UNESCO's competency standards for teachers. Has anyone raise your hand if you've heard of this before? I'd love to know. Fantastic, great, because a lot of people have not. And the reason, just quickly, there's the e-learning planning framework, which is New Zealand's version of this. If you look at the likes of the United States, they've got the NETS A, and Australia would have their own, and so on and so forth. The UNESCO's CSTs are a global policy and framework. It looks at the bigger picture, which is exactly why I've grasped it. This is something I'm really strong, I'm enthusiastic about integrating into our school. It looks at the student that evolves into the citizen. So it takes something that we can make change in learning, and we can make that change, therefore, evolve into the workforce as well. And I'll explain a little bit more about that. It's broken down into 3 stages. The first, which is technology literacy. Technology literacy, quite simply, is what skills as a student and as a teacher, because bear in mind this is for teacher and student, what skills do I need in order to make a difference in this ever-evolving, this very fast-paced world that we live in? What skills, not only with technology, but through collaboration and problem solving, what skills do I need in order to make that difference? How can I make a change for the better? So it gives us a series of policies and frameworks that aim to integrate that into our curriculum, into our school, and tick a few boxes, and before you know it, we're evolving into the knowledge deepening stage. So I've got the skills, I know how to use my computer, I know what cyber safety, I know how to effectively leave a positive digital footprint. Now I'm moving into the knowledge deepening phase. How can I have rich experiences with my technology and the content I'm accessing online? How can I do it in a way that gives me, say something like a surface feature learning outcome would? And how can I take that learning that's rich and it's deep, and how can I take that learning and how can I apply it to currently what issues and what problems and what are the situations we have in our world today, in our country today, and how can I align those together to make real change? And that takes us to the knowledge creation stage. And bear in mind, everything that I'm talking about here simply doesn't end at the 4 walls of a school. It evolves into a system in which I can go into the workforce and I can apply these skills as well. So I then move into the knowledge creation stage. Great. I use data. I use statistics. I use that rich learning that I had through the knowledge deepening stage, and I apply it to make real change for the better, to make things easier if they're difficult. So what I'm trying to say is it's bigger than just New Zealand. It's bigger than just a series of students in a school. It's global. It's globalization. As we all know, New Zealand's opened its doors up to this way of life, really, I suppose. And this really caters for that. Why would you not have something that caters for that need? So that's something I've really grasped with 2 hands, and I've really pushed in the school, and obviously it's something that I'm going to integrate within that curriculum and that technology integration as well. And of course, with my little pictures here, you'll see that all this flow-on effect comes down to the students. So we're developing students who are going to give back through education reform, social development. We can increase equality, all those big words. We can actually make a change. And I believe that with these right skills that the students can do that. And if we educate them in the right ways, look, these are the future of our country. Sounds big, it is big, but I think it's the right way forward. And I am enthusiastic and I am confident that it's going to work as well, which is the most important thing. Currently, and I wish far more people were here to see this, but currently we are a bring your own device school. You know what? It doesn't feel like bring your own device sometimes. It feels like bring your own distraction. Some have even labelled it bring your own disaster. It becomes very difficult for a teacher, and this is something empirically I can speak of because I've been in the classroom a long time. Technology into something I'm heavily involved in and I know a lot about through study, through research, through theory. It becomes very difficult for a teacher to teach when you have a range, a plethora of different devices that do different things. Yes, some of them might get to the same goal, but they don't all do it in the same way. One device that does one thing, another device might not do that particular thing or that task. It becomes very difficult to navigate through those problems. And it becomes the teacher's problem, which is the problem. So therefore, that teaching and learning that should be happening in the classroom is now becoming a troubleshooting, a supporting issue for that teacher to solve. And that flow-on effect is now it's the student's problem as well. And you get two outcomes. The teacher pushes it to the side and says, I don't want to deal with that anymore. Don't worry about it, open up your books, we'll go back to how it was. Not that there's anything wrong with that at all. But when you've got students who are fully engaged and are using these devices and connected to this World Wide Web on a regular basis, I think you need to evolve with the times. And so I don't think that approach is the best approach. Or you've got the other teacher who'll say, okay, I'll work with this, I'll try and solve these problems here and now. But before you know it, 45 minutes has been and the learning that's been going on has not really happened. So it becomes a real problem. So we are looking for ubiquitous technology integration over the whole school. And we think we've found that. We think the Google Chromebook is the device that is going to do that for us. We are a Google school. 95% of the software interactions we have are Google Apps for Education based. We use third-party applications, of course we do, but this is the Chrome software that we use. And the Chromebook obviously works in that Chrome environment seamlessly. So that is probably one of the biggest pushes and why we're pushing the Chromebook. You can look at things like boot up time. From closing to opening to start up, you're looking at seconds. I've got students in my class with laptops. Not only forget about updates, simply starting them up can take minutes. Then you add on some updates and then you've got minutes upon minutes. It becomes a real problem. Firmware, which is something that I'm not sure if many of you know about firmware, but essentially I had a good friend who said it was like firmware was like a fine wine, gets better with age. So essentially these devices should do that. With upgrades in that firmware, that device, this Chromebook that you have, should actually get quicker over time. There's not much hardware happening in the likes of a Chromebook compared to a laptop like this. Battery time. On a full charge, I can easily work through a full day's work on one battery charge. Simply. Seen it time and time again. These next 3 points are very exclusive to the HP product. And it might sound like a sales pitch, but I approached HP. I actually approached them. I didn't get them to come to us. I went to them because I think their product is the best product out there. There was a school I was working with in Victoria, and they do a Lenovo Chromebook. And the reason they do that is because they think that's the best product for their students, for their environment, from what they've seen. They think that's the best product. I think the HP is the best product, the Chromebook. There's a reason why as well. There's actually 3 reasons why. Well, 2. One's on the peripherals a little bit. It's durable, it's strong. I very rarely see a Google HP Chromebook getting fixed. Very rarely. No problems with hinges, no exterior problems. Very rarely if they're managed how they should be as a learning tool. The 3-year warranty is the big one. This is something I really encourage and I really pushed for. We want a system that means if your child breaks a device or has an issue with the device, it doesn't go home and go back to the parent who then has to take care of that. Once again, empirically, I see devices going home for weeks. I've just had a student in my class lose their device. They won't be getting it back for the rest of the year. Cracked screen. That's their learning on hold. What we're proposing here is a 3-year warranty, whereas if the device has a problem, it comes to the school brings up HP on a 3 to 5 day working plan, turn that device over, get it fixed, get it sorted, get it sent back. A loan device is given to that student goes back, continues their learning. All covered under the warranty. Hence why some people have said, look, the price you've given us on this portal is a little bit steeper. Well, that's the reason why. It doesn't become your problem, it becomes our problem. And the last thing is the Google Chrome Management Console. This is something that can run on any Chromebook, but it can only be delivered through Cyclone. And our relationship with Cyclone and the purchasing portal is the reason why that price has possibly jumped up by $50. That's why. And so what the Chrome Management Console does is it gives the teacher greater control over that particular device. It allows teachers to understand what each device is doing. It allows us to push particular web pages out or content out onto those Chromebooks. It allows us to find applications within the Chrome store and push those out to students, whatever subject it might apply to. And that allows us to engage in a blended learning teaching environment. Blended learning is the way forward. It's absolutely the way forward. Blended learning is a combination of both online learning and face-to-face learning as well. Thousands of years people have been teaching other people and it's worked just fine. Some of that were those who would stand up and deliver content because they knew what they were talking about. Of course they did. It wasn't left up to a device to tell us. Those teachers knew what they were talking about. Therefore, why would you take that away from them? But with technology integration as well, they can reinforce teaching points. They can deliver content in a different way, but still through talking and discussion, collaboration, group, peer, whole school. This is the way forward. Stamp my reputation on it. It's the teaching way forward. Research totally indicates it's going that way, and I totally stand for that. I believe it is. So it brings me to my last point. How are we going to bring all this together? This is not going to happen in 6 months. It's not going to happen in a year. It's going to take time. But at the moment, as we speak, I've got 2 websites up there. The first of which, the top one, is my personal classroom website. And that shows you coordinated learning in action. I really do encourage you all to have a look at that website and see how a classroom that uses a blended learning situation would work, would evolve. Totally accessible, all online, but it still involves that teacher discussion, that teacher talk, that collaborative working together, peers, groups, etc. We're going to start connecting staff sites, department sites, and that bottom website is the site that's going to do that. So a teacher in one area of the school with a classroom website or a department website will have access to another teacher's. And you would think, hey, well, surely that should be going on right now. Well, it's not, and it's going to start happening. But how am I going to use teachers' websites in other parts of the school? How can I effectively use those? There's no point accessing something if I'm not going to ever use it. So if we all work together, which is what the Year 17 and eventually the Year 8s and so forth and so on are attempting to do, we are going to coordinate everything. Think of it like a big spider web of websites. Autonomy, self-paced learning. Students working at their own pace, working in their own time, asking questions when they need to ask, but then coming back for discussion, for collaboration, for peer-to-peer. Aesthetics, it's called classic aesthetics. It's the ease of navigation. We can all create a site. I can guarantee you give me 2 hours with you, at least we could make a starting step on creating a website. But can you make it so it's easy to navigate through? Can you make it so that I can put it in front of 30 students and they can all understand where they have to go and how they have to get there? It's really important. That's something I've looked heavily into. Inter-class, inter-school discussion. Forget about inter-school. Let's make it global. Currently, Google Connected Classrooms is on its way and it's evolving and it's growing bigger. I can have a lesson with someone in a totally different country. It might be a teaching point. He might be speaking on a particular subject that some of my students, not all, might be some of my students want to engage in. They can do so. Obviously, if it fits in with what things we're doing and your curiosity, so forth and so on. It's all happening now. And once again, it's like a big spider web. It's all connected. Google Connected Classrooms. And then there's the staff and student online training. All the research points to staff PD, staff support. You're a staff member. This is all fantastic when you place all these devices in front of me. If I don't know how to use it, if I don't know what to do with it, take it away. Give me a book. So staff PD is going to be something that we're really going to push forward. And as an example, one of those, one area I'm going to focus on is the Google Apps training. And there's a company in Toronto, and the chap's name who created this company is Varun. It's called Synergize. You can look it up. And what they've done is they've created a software that is completely interactive. It allows teachers to follow, a series of steps in order to achieve particular goals. And it works its way right through the software. It's good for not only staff, but it's good for students as well. So we want a series of support and training. And that's just one example. That's just one example. That's not it. That's not all we're doing. That's one example of how we're going to get staff into the position where they feel comfortable using devices and teaching in a blended learning situation and connecting everything together. And that's the change we're trying to make. And that's the change that's going to happen. It's going to happen.